Picture it now. You're at a theatre. You're watching a musical. Act 1, it's come and gone. It's already finished, and you're halfway through the interval. You're enjoying your ice cream if you're in the UK. You're enjoying your really, really overpriced cocktail if you're in the US. Seriously, why are your cocktails like $30? I will never understand it. But you know what? It's time. It's time to get back into it. Time to get back into the show. But, you know, you've been out of it for 20 minutes. How are you going to reconnect with the material, with the art that is in front of you? Well, the best way to do it is an Act 2 opening number. Maybe this has a little bit of pizzazz, a bit of flash. Maybe it's a deep ballad to get you back into it. But that is the most important thing. It needs to reintroduce you to the show and catch you back up after you've been looking at your phone for 20 minutes. But with so many wonderful Act 2 opening numbers, the question must be asked. The question we were always going to ask. What is the best Act 2 opener from a musical? There's so many to choose from. How will we ever decide what is the best / my favourite? Oh wait, we can do this. Welcome back to the Versus Bracket. Yes, once more, we're returning to the Versus Bracket. I have picked 32 different Act 2 opening numbers, and we are going to have them fight 1v1 to determine what is the best out of the 32 I have picked, aka of all time. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie. I talk about theatre. I am the most chaotic theatre person on the internet. I do reviews, I do discussions, I do versus brackets, rankings, and tier lists. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me and helps out the channel. But let's dive in to this versus bracket. What do I determine as an Act 2 opening number? Because there's a couple of different ways you can start Act 2. A lot of musicals will have an entr'acte, or an interact, or an enteract. I never quite know how to pronounce it, but I feel like that and overtures are their own bracket entirely. What I'm looking for is the first number that is sung in a musical. The first, number that brings you back in and you're back with the cast and the team of the show. This does mean that there's a couple of really interesting moments where the Act 2 opener that people more associate being the Act 2 opener actually doesn't count. Heathers is a great example of this. Obviously, you think of My Dead Gay Son, but that's not the first song in Heathers that is sung, because there is a reprise of 17 and Beautiful that is called Prom or Hell. That is technically the Act 2 opener, and because of that, and because there's dialogue that comes between, I can't count it. However, for something like Addams Family, where Act 2 opens with instrumental, then has a scene, and then another number, I can count that. Weirdly, because it's an interact, it's an entr'acte, it's an entrance to the act. I never know how to pronounce it. So that is what I'm looking for. What is the first sung song in Act 2 of your musical? Now, on the whole, the Act 2 opening numbers are a really interesting bunch. There's a lot of different ways that you can bring people back in to Act 2 of a musical. Sometimes you don't want it to be like a really slow ballady number. Sometimes you want a bit of flash, a bit of camp. That's why a lot of musicals do start with a more dancey number at the start of Act 2. For me, I'm looking for something a little bit interesting. I want it to match the style of the rest of Act 2, kind of set us up for what we're going to get. I'm looking for something that builds, you know? Maybe starts a little bit slower, but then by the end of it, it's this big flushy dance number to really bring you back in and to wow you a bit. That's what I'm looking for. Let's see if I stick to that criteria. I don't know, these videos are very, there's a lot of pressure, okay? And also, as we find our way through this bracket, I'd love to know your opinion. The fact of the matter is that these videos, they're so fun because they're also subjective. Most of these songs are like neck and neck with each other, and I have to make snap decisions. So I would love to hear your snap decisions in the comments down below. Play along. Let's just jump into it and start with the first matchup. We have Seasons of Love from Rent, probably one of the most iconic Act 2 opening numbers of all time, versus Bui Doi from Miss Saigon. Now, I think these are both very strong. I think Seasons of Love, I have to give it credit first off because of its iconic status. I mean, those little chords, like the chords that start Seasons of Love, that is so iconic. If a musical theatre fan hears those chords, they are running from the other side of the room. They are coming over. They know what's about to happen. They are ready. They've got that number in their mind, and they're about to say it. And you kind of have to give a lot of weight to that. But then again, Bui Doi, which is a number I'm really scared I'm going to mispronounce for this video, I've probably already done it, is a number that is like very slow. It's very ballady. It's powerful though. That's what I'll give it. It's a powerful number. This absolute anthem, this almost like it's set up like a plead as we see this character advocating for the children in Vietnam. It's a fantastic number, so powerful, so moving. And especially in certain productions where you see like the images on the back screen, there's a lot of really interesting imagery and really powerful imagery that runs throughout this song. But let's be honest here. I do feel like these songs are quite neck and neck, and I think the icon status of something like Seasons of Love is what's going to push it over here. And while I do love the other song, while I do love Miss Saigon, I do think Seasons of Love is stronger. Next up, we got a little bit of 9 to 5 with One of the Boys versus Too Darn Hot from Kiss Me Kate. Now, the thing about Kiss Me Kate, if you've seen my review, you know that I'm not a massive fan of Kiss Me Kate. But when I say that Too Darn Hot is one of the best opening numbers for Act 2 of all time, I mean it. I think that is especially important to highlight. If you are taking a musical that I genuinely don't really like that much, and one of your numbers is just so well done, so well put together, so great that I have to give it the credit it deserves, then I kind of have to push that through. It's like Shrek. It's similar to Shrek. Shrek is a musical I'm not a massive fan of, but the fact that it has one of the best Act 1 finales of all time has to be appreciated. And I think a very similar thing can be said for Too Darn Hot. I love how it starts. You know, we've just got one dance to the kind of clicky beat to it, but then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, going into this giant, flashy dance number. If you can give Cole Porter anything, it's the fact that he loves reprising his songs so much. Every single number that Cole Porter puts into a musical is in that musical about 5 times, straight after each other. He doesn't know when to stop, but he can also write a damn good Act 2 opening number. Oh, it's just so flashy and big and camp. And I've said all of this, and I haven't even addressed One of the Boys. 9 to 5, I feel like, you know, this is an underappreciated number from 9 to 5. I have slowly warmed more and more to the 9 to 5 musical, to a point where, like, I actually really do enjoy it now. And a lot of its music is what I've warmed to. This doesn't kick off Act 2, but it is the first number that we see, so it does count. And this is a reprise of 9 to 5. There might be a reprise of 9 to 5. Is there a reprise of 9 to 5? I swear Dolly does something. I swear Dolly comes up on the screen. If this breaks my rules, shh, don't worry, it's not going to get past round 1 anyway. It's up against Too Darn Hot, I'm sorry. But I think it fulfills a lot of the things that I do love about an Act 2 opening number. Brings you into a character, brings you into a silly situation, kind of heightens up everything to a point where it's kind of ridiculous, but it's so much fun. It's a fun opening number, but it's got absolutely no chance against Too Darn Hot, because Too Darn Hot is too darn good to not put it through to round 2. Next up, Jekyll and Hyde, a musical that I feel like I need to see a full production of, because I don't give it enough appreciation as I feel like it deserves. Give us a revival of Jekyll and Hyde. Give us a concert of Jekyll and Hyde. I'd love that. Because, I mean, stuff like Confrontation, yeah, I love. But a song like Murder, Murder is actually pretty good. But it is up against Beetlejuice. Now, Girl Scout is technically the Act 2 opener for Beetlejuice. But because it runs so perfectly into that beautiful sound, I'm going to count that all as the Act 2 opener. And I feel that's going to help Beetlejuice a little bit through this bracket. I do quite like how we've got 2 very spooky musicals up against each other. Love that. I think the thing about Beetlejuice that I really, really like is how they kind of pull the rug out from under you. You know, you've just had this end of Act 1, you've had Deo, you've had Beetlejuice take over the house. You're kind of expecting Act 2 to open with them taking over, with that panic and chaos all happening inside that house. But instead you get this really cheery beat of the Girl Scout coming in. I love that twist. I love that subversion of expectations. And I think the melody is so sweet. And then it goes into that beautiful sound, which is that chaos. And oh my god, it's so fun. I didn't know how much I needed, like, a buddy song between Lydia and Beetlejuice. Like, the dynamic that they have in the musical really bounces off well. I think this song is one of the best examples of how the dynamic works in the musical and how well these two work as, like, a buddy duo. But then there's also Murder Murder, which I really, really like. It's got this really sinister tone to it. It's this town kind of reacting to a lot of the horrific things that Hyde is doing. Obviously, we know a lot about Victorian London. It's very hush-hush. It's very, you didn't really speak about taboo subjects. That was the society at the time. So this kind of whispered talk and discussion of these really horrific things happening is very in line with the time period. And also, I just really like the melody. Murder, murder in the night air. I really, really enjoy it. Which is stronger, though? It's hard to say, because I think both have a lot of positives, actually. I'm surprisingly positive about both of these, to a point where I'm like, I could put for either of them and be fine. I feel like just by, like, the tiniest little margin, I'll give it to Beetlejuice. I do like the twist of it, and I do feel like it gives you a lot more reflection on the characters that we were going into Act 2 with. I'll use those little tiny hairs and little tiny reasons to give it to Beetlejuice. Oh boy, we've got Lloyd Webber versus Lloyd Webber. That's interesting. Well, we are guaranteed to have a Lloyd Webber song in the second round, because we have Masquerade from Phantom versus the opening of Act 2 of Evita, which starts with that weird, like, Perron has been... He's in office now, and they're doing all the Perron, Perron, Perron. But the song that really gets that onto this list is the fact that it goes straight into Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. One of the most beautiful musical theatre songs of all time. But is it a strong Act 2 opener? Because that's what this list is all about. We're not saying which is the better song. We're not saying that. We're not often thinking about that. We're thinking more, how does this start Act 2? How does it lead you into Act 2? And does it kind of snap you back into place after an interval? And while I think Don't Cry For Me, Argentina is just glorious, I'm not sure if it's that great in its placement. I'll be perfectly honest, I don't love a ballad starting Act 2. If you slow it down a little bit too much, you're gonna struggle to get me back invested into the show. And I feel like Don't Cry For Me, Argentina is the definition of that. I will praise Evita to high heaven. Evita, I will say it, my favourite Lloyd Webber musical. But I feel like if there was another song, like, in between, I feel like this would have a stronger chance. Is that controversial? Maybe. Because I do think Don't Cry For Me, Argentina is, definitely top 10 Lloyd Webber songs for me. But I don't know if it's the strongest in Act 2. And I say all of this because I feel like if it was up against anything else, I would be putting that to one side. But it's up against Masquerade. Listen. Phantom, Act 1 finale. It's cool because of the chandelier falling, but the song itself isn't that strong. Act 1 opening number. It's cool, but we can't really include the overture, because the overture, that's going to be like top 4. That is one of the best overtures of all time. But the opening number is technically when they're actually, like, in the opera place, and it's not that great. You're waiting till they get to think of me, You're waiting for that moment. And it's a very dialogue-heavy introduction to the show. But Masquerade is exactly what you want from an Act 2 opener. Big, flashy, camp, ends with the Phantom taking over and everything becoming more sinister. That is fantastic. Which is a better number? I think it is undoubtedly Don't Cry For Me, Argentina. Don't Cry For Me, Argentina is a better song in every way. But that's not what we're discussing here. We are discussing Act 2 openers. And I feel like Don't Cry For Me, Argentina is weakened due to what comes before it as well. I really don't love the Perron introductory bit. And it's a bit too ballady, it's a bit too slow to bring me back into the action of the musical. But Masquerade, that does it. It's tough because I'm kind of having to put to one side the fact that I do prefer Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, but the better Act 2 opener is Masquerade. Ah, that hurts. That hurts. I love Evita. I'm so excited for Evita to come back. We're getting a revival. We're getting a revival this year, and I cannot wait. Next up, Amelie. I love Amelie. Amelie is one of my favourite musicals of all time, and it opens Act 2 with this really beautiful lullaby number called Half Asleep. It's really simple, it's really slow, but it's this beautiful melody. Honestly, go listen to it on the Cast album. So pretty. Versus another Cole Porter, Anything Goes with Below Gabriel Below. Now, those of you keenly aware of Anything Goes will have just realised that I've just broken my own rules, because Below Gabriel Below is not the first number in Act 2 of Anything Goes. It is Public Enemy number 1. And the fact that I forgot that Public Enemy number 1 exists should show you my opinion on Public Enemy number 1. But hey, the bracket's been filmed now. I've only realised this in post, so all I can do is hold up my hands, say oops, and continue on with the bracket. Just pretend that I didn't mess this up. I'm sorry. My argument against Don't Cry For Me Argentina is also going to affect Amelie here. I love Amelie so much, but I can't argue against Below Gabriel Below. Again, Cole Porter is just really good at opening Act 2 with a big flashy dance number, and I love that. It's so catchy. Like, the melody of it's so, like, old school musical theatre. It's really boppy. I am a huge fan. I'm a massive fan. And I do feel like Gabriel blows Amelie out of the water, sadly, when it comes to starting Act 2. I really do love Half Asleep. I really do. It's simple. It's sweet. It's just a little moment where you get another glimpse into these two passing ships, these two people that you're following through Amelie and Nino. These two people kind of destined to be together by the end. Oh, it's so sweet, but it's Below Gabriel Below. Now, this is interesting. We had two Lloyd Webber shows next to each other, and now we've got both of Lin-Manuel Miranda's musicals on here too. Well, Broadway musicals. The one he's written for Broadway, that have been on Broadway. The two that he only wrote, because there's also Bring It On, but Bring It On, he co-wrote. The two musicals that he has written and also starred in. There we go. We have Sunrise from In the Heights and What Did I Miss from Hamilton. Now, again, we've had 3 songs back to back that have been slower, more ballady. And as I said, I don't really love that starting Act 2. When it comes to starting Act 2, I don't think you can get more crowd-pleasy than What Did I Miss. Now, I'm also a believer that Yorktown should probably end Act 1 of Hamilton, but the fact that we get What Did I Miss as the opening of Act 2, I think makes up for that fact, because it's so great. Again, similar to something like Beetlejuice that kind of twists it on you. I love the switch up of musical styles here. This more jazzy number versus all the hip-hop that we've had to reflect on Jefferson and where he's been. It's upbeat, it's fun, it brings you back in. But then also, Sunrise is a really beautiful number. There's a little bit of comedy within there. The subversion of expectations, as you expect that Nina and Benny are going to do something a little bit different. And it's just her testing him on Spanish. It's such a sweet moment. So beautiful. But I do in general prefer a flashier start to Act 2. So these two wolves inside of me are fighting each other. And which would I send through to next round? I would say, What Did I Miss? I would say, What Did I Miss? Oh, that was tough. That was tough. Oh, let's hope the next round isn't as tough. Oh, hell yeah, let's go. Okay, listen, I have been waiting to talk about 42 balloons on one of these versus brackets, okay? And I always said that this bracket would be the bracket for 42 balloons, because the opening of Act 2, 42 balloons and a lawn chair, is genuinely one of the most boppiest songs I have ever heard from musical theatre. It is catchy, it is fun, it's kind of chaotic, and you know I'm a big fan of that. I think it is so good, and it's so earwormy, it gets stuck into your brain and you will not stop singing it. I absolutely adore 42 Balloons. I think that Jack Godfrey's music and score and everything that he has crafted with that musical is phenomenal, and I cannot wait to see them continue to work on it and bring it to West End soon, please. I miss it. And 42 Balloons on a Lawn Chair is, I'm gonna say it, it's my favorite number. It's my favorite number. It's up against Next to Normal, which means it's winning. Because Next to Normal, its Act 2 opening it's cool, it's fine. It's bringing you into the electroshock therapy. It's, you know, I like the rockier score to it. I think it's nice. I think it works. But 42 Balloons on a Lawn Chair. 42 Balloons on a Lawn Chair. It's so fun. It's so good. And I'm rooting for it. All the way, baby. 42 Balloons all the way. I have not been able to get it onto one of these brackets before, and it's gonna get far. Otherwise, I'm going to riot. You know me, I always put some British musicals on here, sprinkle them in, because I like to support the British musicals. And this is probably, actually not even probably, this is out of a lot of the recent British musicals, this is the strongest Act 2 opener. I said what I said. Next up, okay, two very crowd-pleasy ones. We've got Oliver, a musical that I'm surprised hasn't been on more of these brackets, with Papa. Very iconic, very, very not much to do with the rest of Act 2. But, you know, it's Nancy, it's crowd-pleasy, it's classic musical theatre, you know? Versus one of the only, I think it is the only Disney musical on this list, because if you look at Disney Act 2 openers, they're not that strong. I mean, Frozen has, the weird song that they have with the wandering tradesperson, which I don't really like that much. Lion King, I can't even remember what opens Lion King in Act 2. What does open Lion King in Act 2? I don't even know. What even ends Act 1 of Lion King? God, I apparently need to go back and see Lion King again. Beauty and the Beast is something there, which is fine. Mary Poppins is the Miss Andrews stuff, which isn't very great. Hunchback? What opens Act 2 of Hunchback? I can't even remember. See? I think the strongest in terms of taking a song from the film, or even putting a new song in there, that is very crowd-pleasy and very flashy, is Prince Ali from Aladdin. Now, this is an interesting fight, because these two, I think both are okay. I like both of them. I think they both work very well as Act 2 openers, which is a song that I think is better, probably Prince Ali. I think I prefer the melody of that one. I feel like it does kind of get into your head a little bit more. Which is my iconic, probably Papa actually, but I don't know. I'm not overly like passionate about either of these ones personally. Which would I say is better? I do quite like Papa, but is it stronger than Prince Ali? I do think Prince Ali starts Act 2 a little bit stronger, so I'll go with Prince Ali. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's send Disney through to next round. They got absolutely bombarded in the set design tier list. Let's give them a knowledge branch this time. All right, first half of round 1 done. Let's head on over to the other side. Billy Elliot, another British musical with Merry Christmas Maggie Thatcher, an entire song dedicated to hated Maggie Thatcher. And that is great. We love to see it. I will only sit here and accept Maggie Thatcher slander. If you think that's harsh, you probably don't know much about Maggie Thatcher. Versus The Prom. Girls on Zaz. Okay, when we're speaking about an Act 2 opening number that isn't the strongest, but I have a real soft spot for it. Zaz is that. You know, it's just it's very showbizy. It's very, I like the melody of it. It's fun. It's a little bit goofy. I feel like it eases you back into Act 2 quite well. I love The Prom. I think The Prom deserves better. I think The Prom should come over here at some point because I love that musical. I really like Zaz. But Merry Christmas Maggie Thatcher. I think if you're speaking about an Act 2 opener that just it's so well crafted. I love how much fun everyone is having on that stage. It's so in character for all of them. I really do love it as an Act 2 opener. I think in this instance I would give it to Billy Elliot. I would give it to Merry Christmas Maggie Thatcher. But Zaz, you have my heart. Next up, okay, Legally Blonde, Whipped into Shape. I enjoy Whipped into Shape. It's good. it's good. Versus one of the few Sondheim musicals on this list. Now, I will hear no slander to an Act 1 closer for Sondheim. Sondheim can close a musical so well, both in the actual finale and the Act 1 finale. Opening Act 2, when you look at them, they're a bit less strong, actually. Into the Woods is kind of a reprise of the opening number, which is, like, fine, but it's not anything that I'm really fussed about. Company's got an okay one, which is actually on this list at some point. I think one of the stronger ones is God That's Good from Sweeney Todd. And these, tonally, are very different. We have, you know, a crowd of people eating meat pies made out of something that they should probably question a little bit more, and this really fun little workout video. I really like the opening of Legally Blonde, actually. I think you know, it does kind of scratch your brain a little bit, especially Callahan's verse. You know, it's that bit where he reprises it. I want her whipped into shape. If there's a brain in that hair, tell it that I am the key. It's the plea or the chair. And then a change in it as they go from the workout video to her actually being in prison. Like, I love that. And it's so big, and oh my god, especially when you're thinking about what these performers are doing, they are singing this really difficult number while skipping consistently. That is difficult to do. I did a production of Legally Blonde back when, you know, I was like 14, and I was not even in that skipping number, and I knew how hard they had it. You thought I was going to say I did the skipping. No, I'm not that athletic. Like, literally, there were so many rehearsals at a number where they just go... That is difficult to do. We have to give it some credit for that. I do like the scale of God That's Good. You get so many little different tidbits. I think it's a number that brings you in to Act 2 very well, so I guess it does get bonus points for that. You know, there's a lot it sets up. It's very plot-heavy, actually. It's a lot more plot-heavy than a lot of these other Act 2 openers. Is that bonus points or minus points? I don't know, because I feel like it does a really good job at giving you those bits slowly but surely. You know, it's not rushing too fast in with the plot. And I like a lot of the melodies, the nice to see you, dearie, how have you been keeping? It's really nice to see this different side of Lovett as well. You know, we've had her failing shop, we've had that, and now she's bustling. She's doing kind of what she does best. She's always been this kind of chatterbox, even just with someone like Sweeney. It's nice to see her doing that on a larger scale. It's tough. I would say these are both very good, but I would go with Sondheim here. I would go with God That's Good. Next up, if you want a crowd-pleasy, over-the-top number, you can't get much better than Everybody's Talking About Jamie, versus an Act 2 opener which is completely different in style and tone and everything, Letters, from Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812, a musical where I will continue to say the full title because it's fun to say. I don't know which way I'm going to go with this one. I think Letters fits very tonally for what Great Comet is going for. It's an Act 2 opener with a lot of other musicals. I would rank it lower, but actually I really enjoy Letters. Bringing us back into the action, we've had a lot of the drama happening between Natasha and Anatole, the will they won't they kind of thing. And essentially this number brings you back into the musical with Natasha going, will I, won't I? Will I do this? Will I send a letter to split up with my husband-to-be, with my fiancé? Will I do all of this to run away with this guy? What am I going to do? And that's contrasted with Pierre's letters as well. Almost being so defeated in a way. Both of them writing to the same person. Both writing to Andre with very different approaches of it. I think there's a lot of layers to it. I think it's really interesting and fits very perfectly to what Great Comet is trying to do. Jamie, on the other hand, it's just a bit of fun. It's big, it's flashy. I love this kind of rumor mill that it showcases, with things kind of becoming more outlandish as it goes on, showing you the impact of Jamie's performance on this entire class of people. And it's fun, it's got a great melody, it's boppy. Which is going to win out for me? It's hard to say, because I feel like they are both perfect examples of doing two different things. I could honestly go either way. I am just going to have to go with my gut. And my gut may be wrong, but I'm just going to have to go with my gut. And my gut right now is telling me to go with Letters. I don't know. That feels wrong. But I'm going to have to go with it because that's how I do these. Next up, Death is Just Around the Corner from Adam's Family versus Sunset Boulevard. Oh boy, Adams, I'm so sorry. You didn't stand a chance. I sit here, I hold up Jamie Lloyd's version of Sunset Boulevard and place it in front of you, because I feel like that's going to sway me very much towards Sunset Boulevard. But it's not as like ballady as something like Don't Cry For Me Argentina. It's not as slow as that. There's a lot of punch in a lot of those lyrics as well. And I think as we're seeing this change and we're seeing the direction that this character is going in, it's nice to have this moment where he kind of reflects on all of that, where he speaks it through. You know, he's been this starving artist, and actually now that he's with this richer person, he's kind of comfortable with it. It's his affirmation of his choice and what he's going to do, and that leads us into all of the drama and all of the action that comes in Act 2 of Sunset Boulevard. And also, if you're going to do it while walking through a theatre and then walking around the Savoy, showing the giant marquee, then walking down through the theatre, down into the stalls, and then ending up back on stage, I kind of have to give you bonus points. Or, you know, going down Schubert Alley as they do on Broadway with the biggest entourage I've ever seen. The entire cast is on the street. It's sad because I haven't even spoken about Death is Just Around the Corner, which is cute. You know, it's nice. I feel like it matches very much like your typical Act 2 opening number. You know, it's big, flashy, it's dancey. It's fun. It's a little bit silly, but you know, it's very in tone with the Adams and Morticia. And, you know, you get little touches of the drama beforehand. You get the argument with Morticia and Gomez. You get the argument between Wednesday and Lucas. These two couples kind of biting at each other's necks a bit. Yeah, but it's Sunny Boobs. It's Sunny Boobs. Sunny Boobs that goes through to next round. Next up, we have the Act 2 opener for Operation Mincemeat, Das Übermensch, versus Newsies with King of New York. I love how camp the Act 2 opener is of Mincemeat. I was not expecting it when I first went to see Mincemeat, and my god, it just comes out with this giant punch. It's so over the top, it's so camp, it has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of the musical, which I guess we're gonna give it some minus points for, but you know, I might forgive it a little bit more, it's fine. But I do really enjoy it. If, you know, when you think about it, maybe we shouldn't be cheering for these guys. Actually, we definitely shouldn't be cheering for these guys. There is a lot of fair criticism that has been levied to this number, which I kind of more see for what they do in the finale of Mincemeat. But I feel like it wouldn't be fair if I didn't at least mention that. Versus Newsies, King of New York. It's tap. I love an Act 2 tap opener, and especially if you saw the one at Troubadour Wembley Park when they're swinging from the lights. Oh hell yeah. Oh hell yes. It's fun, especially after the ending of Act 1 that has been this giant ballad, so heartfelt, so moving. To have this Act 2 opener where they're just like, yeah, we're in the paper, let's have a little tap dance. I love being able to see the other Newsies' reactions to that, especially after the huge defeat that they've had, kind of bringing you back more onto their side a bit more, and giving them a moment of victory, even though they've just suffered this massive defeat. Close! I would give it to Newsies, actually. I would personally give it to Newsies. Next up, oh no. Oh, I really like both of these. There's a clear winner, but I love both of these. First off, Sweet Charity, a musical that I'm not overly familiar with, but I am very familiar with this number. It is one of the most iconic numbers to come out of this musical. Rhythm of Life. You know it. Even if you don't know it by name, you know this song. Versus Moulin Rouge, Backstage Romance. Rhythm of Life is phenomenal. It's so interesting. I love the melody of it. I love this chorus. I love the image that it builds up of this community that they're visiting in Sweet Charity as well. And if you've seen the film, Sammy Davis Jr. doing this, oh my god, so perfect. It is everything. But then there's Backstage Romance. Backstage Romance, just, if you want an Act 2 opener that builds, it's right here, tied up in a neat little bow for you. The songs that they choose to mash up is so effective, and it goes into these massive chorus numbers. This choreography, the scale that it builds is utterly mind-blowing. When you first see Moulin Rouge on stage and you get to this number, oh my god, it is everything. The obvious winner here is Moulin Rouge, but oh my god, when I say that I really do love Rhythm of Life, I mean it. Really catchy number, and I'm gonna go listen to it again after this video because, oh, I do love it a lot, but it is backstage romance. The songs that they mash up, the scale of it brings you back into the club of the Moulin Rouge so perfectly. Next up, we have one of the newest musicals on this list. A Broadway musical that I've slowly become more obsessed with and is making me want to cover Broadway a little bit more as we go into their next season, versus a number that technically, because of how this musical was created, is technically the only Act 1 opening number on this list. This is The Young Are at the Gates from Suffs versus Falsetto Land from Falsettos. Now, the new one is Suffs, and the one that is technically also an Act 1 opening number is Falsetto Land, because Falsettos is made up of two different musicals that were smushed together. Like, Falsetto Land used to be its own musical, so technically it is an Act 1 opening number, but it's also an Act 2 opening number. And I think that's really interesting, because it works very differently. It really does introduce you to the show once more, because it was initially designed to introduce you to the show and catch you back up on the time gap between the last musical and this one. I really do like Falsetto Land. It sets up the whole of Act 2. It sets up these characters, brings you up to speed on them. I love how it matches a lot of the tone that is in Act 1 as well. There's a lot to it that I really do enjoy. The Younger at the Gates is very plot heavy as an Act 2 opener, but I love how it presents these characters still fighting despite the situation that they found themselves in. Which do I think is stronger? It's hard to say, because I do really like both of them. I think I might give this one to Suffs. I think it's incredibly close. There's things I like about both of them, but I don't know. This is what I'm just gonna have to go with my gut, because I think they're very on par. I would go with Suffs. I would go with Suffs. Oh, I may regret that, but I'm going to go with Suffs. All right. Finally, for round one, we've been here for way too long. This has been a lot of decisions that I've had to make. We have Hadestown, Our Lady of the Underground, versus Side by Side from Company. Side by Side from Company is chaotic. All of these couples kind of berating Bobby at this party and everything, especially if you watch like the Marianne Elliott directed production. It's all these weird party games and everything being so weird. I love the melody of it. The isn't it warm? Isn't it cozy or rosy? What's the lyric? Side by side. But I don't know. It has a scale to it. It has a lot, but it's not really been one of my favorites. Our Lady of the Underground, camp. Does it have much to do with the rest of Act 2? Not really. Not really. But I love this moment for Persephone. We've seen her be up in the overground and be so wide and happy and free. And it's quite nice to see almost like a spark of rebellion in her. It's very crowd pleasy. I think it's a slower way to get back into Act 2, but I really do like it. I'm going to go with Hadestown. Okay. That is round one done. We can now speed run through the other rounds, making quick decisions till we get to our winner. This first one is probably the one we're going to spend the most time on, because this could be a finale. When I was thinking about it, this was like, oh, these will be the top two. Well, it's not, because it's in round two. Seasons of Love, Too Darn Hot. Which do I think is stronger? Too Darn Hot, which is my iconic Seasons of Love. And that is a fight that we're going to have to fight now, because I do think we have to give Seasons of Love so much credit for that. But I do think, for what it's worth, when I'm thinking about which one starts Act 2, I do think it's Too Darn Hot. The building of it and the flashiness of it and everything, and the fact that it's from a musical I don't really like that much, is also another thing that I kind of have to give it credit for. It feels wrong to not send both of these through, honestly, but I'm having to make a tough decision. This is a finale pairing, and if I was thinking which one of these would be my winner, it would probably be Too Darn Hot. And I'm going to go with that. Is it wrong? I don't know. Girl Scout and Beautiful Sound versus Masquerade. Masquerade is great. I do really enjoy it. I do really, really enjoy it. Similar situation where I feel like I prefer Beetlejuice, but Masquerade can't be denied its power. It's tough, but I feel like the right decision is Masquerade here. I do feel like the right decision is Masquerade. I love Beetlejuice so much, and I would say I prefer the song, but starting act 2, it is Masquerade. It is Masquerade. It's Masquerade, I'm sorry. Blow Gabriel Blow versus What Did I Miss? Ooh, tough, because I don't think Blow Gabriel Blow is as strong as Too Darn Hot. I don't think it is. And I would say What Did I Miss is a lot more fun. It's a lot more plot driven, and it introduces you to a more important character for Act 2. You know, we need to be introduced to Jefferson. I think it shows him off perfectly while also being very upbeat and interesting and bringing you back in. I'm going to go with Hamilton. Prince Ali, 42 Balloons on a Lawn Chair. Listen to me when I say this. Prince Ali, it's great. It's fun. It's crowd pleasing. But I don't think it beats the absolute bop that is 42 Balloons on a Lawn Chair. It goes to round 3. 42 Balloons for the win. Let's go. Merry Christmas, Maggie Thatcher. God, that's good. Oh, both really strong. I feel like Sondheim's a little bit stronger though. I feel like Sondheim, it's a longer song, and, you know, does it drag in places? Yeah, sure, but there's more plot in there that I feel like I attach to. I would go with God That's Good, personally. Letters versus Sunset Boulevard. I don't think there's much fight here. Sunset Boulevard is incredible. It is a very strong Lloyd Webber song, and perfectly introduces you to a lot of the plot points and a lot of the situation that this character is going to go into. Yep, I'm going to with Sunset Boulevard. Sunny Moves, let's go. King of New York, Backstage Romance. While I love Newsies a lot, I don't think it beats Backstage Romance. The scale of that is one of the strongest Act 2 openers in the West End right now. The Younger at the Gates versus Our Lady of the Underground. Young at the Gates is better plot-wise. Our Lady of the Underground is better, like, music-wise. Oh, snap decision is Hadestown. Round 3. Too Darn Hot versus Masquerade. Both very, very strong. I would stick with my guns. Seeing as it eliminated Seasons of Love, I feel like it's got to keep going. It's Too Darn Hot. What Did I Miss versus 42 Balloons on a Lawn Chair? Okay. Is this the match for 42 Balloons? It might be, honestly. I mean, if we're speaking from, like, setting up Act 2 and setting up the direction of Act 2, I do feel like Hamilton is stronger. I feel like 42 Balloons on a Lawn Chair is boppier and a song that gets stuck into my head a little bit more. But I would say Hamilton narrowly beats it out for me, personally. I wanted to see it go all the way. I wanted to see it go all the way, but I'm very happy to see 42 Balloons get to this placement. I'm very happy for that. God That's Good, Sunset Boulevard. Normally, if I'm versing a Sondheim versus a Lloyd Webber, I know which direction I'm going to go, but I would say Sunset Boulevard is stronger. Backstage Romance, Our Lady Underground, easy. It's Backstage Romance. It's fighting its way through. Come on. Okay, this is close to the top 4 I expected. I expected Seasons of Love to be here. I expected maybe Phantom to get here as well, but that's not how it's worked out. Semi-final. Let's go. Too Darn Hot. What Did I Miss? I really like Hamilton's Act 2 opener. I really do. As I said, I do think Hamilton has a better Act 1 finale a little bit earlier, but its Act 2 opener is so perfectly placed. It's hard. It's going to have to be a snap decision. But a lot of these are snap decisions. And that's what makes these so hard. But it's also what makes it so fun, because you guys will have different snap decisions. And your brackets are completely different. And that's why I always ask you guys to share your opinion in the comments down below. What's my snap decision this time? Y'all might disagree. But I'm going Too Darn Hot. Okay. Backstage Romance, Sunset Boulevard. I mean, in the previous round, I did go with the group number over the solo. Is it going to be a similar thing here? Again, this is such a tight final 4. The thing about Act 2 openers is that they're not as iconic as Act 1 finales, But when we get to like this point, it's so difficult to choose. I do believe by literally the slimmest of hairs that it's Moulin Rouge, which is interesting because this finale is made up of two musicals that I'm not that massive on either of these, but I can't deny that both of these have really, really strong Act 2 opening numbers. So, before we get into it, let me know your thoughts. Out of these two, which ones would win for you? Out of the entire bracket, which is your favourite? Are there any songs I missed off? Almost every musical has an Act 2 opening number, so there's so many I missed off. But it's come to this. This was tough to pick. Again, this finale could have been made up of the other two and I would have been fine as well. But we have Too Darn Hot from Kiss Me Kate versus Backstage Romance from Moulin Rouge. Both being very similar styles of opening numbers for Act 2. Both start slow, build into big, flashy dance sequences. Which is another reason why this is going to be so interesting for you guys to give opinions, because maybe the big flashy dance numbers isn't your cup of tea. Maybe you much more prefer a solo number, and your finale is What Did I Miss and Sunny Booths. But I've got to make a decision here. And I do think, adamantly, it's Moulin Rouge. Backstage Romance is phenomenal. The songs that they choose to mash up are so well chosen. The scale of it builds so perfectly. It's close, but I would say that Backstage Romance takes it for me. When you're thinking about the choreography, when you're thinking about the scale of that moment, when you're thinking about everything it builds, oh, it is beautiful. It is stunning. It is my winner. This was like interesting, but became really hard at the end. So what do you think? What does your bracket look like? Let me know all your thoughts on this in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me. It helps out the channel. Here's some links to some other videos on screen right now and a link to my Instagram if you'd like to drop me a follow over there. I also have other social links and a merch store in the description down below. But that's it for me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.